Hello, I'm Nathan Judah. I'm here with Wolves reporter Mr. Liam Keane. Liam, oh goodness me, Goodison Park, Everton 4, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. That is an incredibly sobering evening for Wolves, for Gary O'Neill, for these fans. That was one of the worst performances we've seen for some time. For me, probably the worst performance of the season. And at the time where Wolves needed one of their best performances of the season, it was anything but. Very, very worrying.
Absolutely. Chelsea at home, Brentford away, Bournemouth at home on the weekend, and this
could top it all off.
It could. It's up there. It's close. Considering that, I mean, it's a silver lining, but considering that a tiny one at that the Wolves score goals at Brentford, this might top it. And it's very similar to Brentford. It's set pieces. It's simple stuff.
Basics.
It's basics. It's real basics. This team are better than that. These individuals are better than that. And that is one of the most worrying performances this team could have put in. It really is. They actually started the game relatively well. It created a decent chance early on. Aït-Nouri crossing for Larson. He's a little bit behind him, but he doesn't do very well at all with the shot. And the goal comes from nowhere. And Gary O'Neill's asked in his first question, is that just down to small details, basics? And he says, we couldn't even get the wall in the right place.
No, not even close.
And that shows itself. I mean, I could go through and pick out every single player, to be honest, and pick out individuals. Just woeful. Defending, atrocious.
Embarrassing.
Craig Dawson has been a fantastic servant for this football club in the last, January 2023, wasn't it? So, almost 2 years. A fantastic servant in those 2 years. A brilliant player. Really key to Wolves staying up under Lopetegui. Fantastic last season. That was his worst game in a Wolves shirt. All over the place, from the first minute, from the very, very first minute. Wolves were beaten and bullied and battered by a team. I mean this with all due respect, because I think Everton's a very good football club and I don't have anything against them, but a really poor side.
It's a poor team.
It's a poor team. And Wolves made them look good. Wolves were battered, were bullied, were well beaten, and it was absolutely embarrassing.
There was no style or quality. Everything just, I hate the phrase, wanted it more, but they just did the basics well. And the basics cut Wolves open time and time and time again. Not only did they score four goals, they had one disallowed, controversially. Calvert-Lewin was through one-on-one twice.
Yep.
We could have been talking about 5, 6 and 7. This is against a team that have not scored in 4 consecutive Premier League games.
1 in 5 as well before this, yeah.
I mean, this is Everton very rarely score more than 1 goal. They've scored 4 today. And
as you said, it could have had 6, 7,
It's incredibly worrying. And when you say about a team, and you could go through them 1 to 11, do not watch or read the player ratings tomorrow, because it is going to be embarrassing. You talk about individuals, you talk about a team. That was, from what I saw tonight, for the first time, looked to you at half time, 11 individuals on that pitch. There was no team ethic whatsoever. And ultimately, as Gary O'Neill said at his post-match press conference, regardless of the players are not doing their job, it falls on the manager. He's going to take responsibility. He's got to take responsibility, and so should he, because he's under big, big pressure this evening.
He's under huge pressure. As it stands, he has to be hanging on to his job. We're yet to hear anything other than he is in charge for West Ham, and once we do hear more, we will bring that. But he is under very serious pressure, and rightly so, I'm afraid to say. I think he got it wrong again with the starting 11. I think Mario Lemina shouldn't be anywhere near a back line.
No.
On a needs must.
It worked in a great situation
exactly
when their backs were against the wall. Get in, get the 3 points, get out, and then go back to your centre backs.
Exactly that, and we said that in the lead up to the Bournemouth game. I couldn't believe that he played at centre back in the Bournemouth game. I was even more shocked that he played centre back here.
Ahead of a Portuguese international in Totti Gomes. I know he's not had the best season, but I think he's been better in recent weeks. Okay, he might have had a poor game against Bournemouth at the weekend, but goodness me, for me, especially in this atmosphere, you need players who know exactly what they can, not just ability-wise, but positionally as well.
And
Positionally,
Santi Bueno
they were
moving
all
over to the
the
left
place
as well. I mean, we're talking square pegs in round holes.
And it showed, by the way. Santiago Bueno was awful.
Again, we could go through almost every individual, but you're spot on. Santi Bueno probably his worst game in a Wolves shirt. And I have to say this, because I was apoplectic in that press box watching this, and I turned to you and I said, what on earth am I watching? There was a moment, I think it was at 2-0 down near the end of the first half, just behind us here. Ashley Young whipped in a low cross, dangerous low cross, that had the forward made the correct run, would have had a tap in. Flashes across goal, goes out. Mario Lemina, captain, turns his head, looks at the floor, walks in the opposite direction. Craig Dawson, 300 games in the Premier League, experienced defender, turns his head the other way, walks in the other direction. Jose Sarr picks the ball up, slumps over to take a goal kick. Every other player in the vicinity turns around and walks away.
No eye contact whatsoever.
Someone should be giving them an absolute bollock in there. Someone in that back line, and I'm sorry to say, Lemina or Dawson. Lemina's the captain, Dawson's an experienced, very,
we can
very
all talk about the leadership group, but where's the leadership group there?
There was zero. Someone needs to get hold of those players in that moment and just shake the living daylights out of them. It's something.
Yeah. Because there's no accountability at the moment.
At no point in this season, I think, even with some bad games that I've just listed a second ago, have I, and I think I'm fair in saying this, have I accused the players of not fighting. That was the first time this season for
100%,
me. There was no bottle, scrap or fight in them whatsoever. And to concede that, I mean, again, set piece. It's a fantastic corner from Dwight McNeil. Don't get me wrong; it's a fantastic delivery. So dangerous.
You know what you're getting with Everton. You know what's going to happen.
Sarr's flapping at it. Dawson's all over the shop. Ends up being an own goal. It is woefully bad. It was woefully bad. The players have let themselves down, but Gary Neville's not blameless. He shoulders the responsibility in the press conference. I've asked him directly, "Are you the right man to take this forward?" He said, "I'll back myself to bring this team on," and he has had some fantastic times as being Wolves head coach since arriving. This is one of the lowest ebbs that he's had in his club, and something's got to give. And whether the manager changes, whether the club make that decision, or whether there is a serious shake-up in that starting 11. Now, one thing I'll add to that, Gary Neville makes a good point in the press conference. He says, we've tried Guedes, we've tried Rodrigo, we've tried Totti, he goes through the squad, we've tried all these players, and a lot of them haven't taken their opportunities. Now, I agree with that, but there's got to be a shake-up. Well, there's got to be, because that is not acceptable. When that cross comes in, and I watched them, I nudged you, and I went, watch them. Lemina head down, Dawson head down. It is embarrassing for a football club of this size to have players doing that, and for players who are big characters. Lemina's he's not a small guy. He's a big character. He's a fantastic player. That is dreadful from a captain. He has to do a lot more than that.
Exactly on your point there, when Gary Neville, and I think hopefully you'll transcribe this at some point, because I think it's very interesting word for word what he said. He said exactly that. He said he's tried every single defensive combination this season, in a back two, in a back three. He listed all the combinations. He said, I've tried everything at the top. He listed all the forward lines that he's tried. For me, I took that as a negative rather than a positive, because I'm thinking, I've tried everything here, guys. I've tried everything at the back. I've tried everything at the top. It's not working. To me, that's someone that's run out of ideas potentially, and that's something that obviously the board will have to have a look at, and there potentially will be conversations. There will definitely be conversations tonight. Of course there is. Wolves are 19th in the table.
He's under
They've
pressure.
just got beat by a relegation rival. They've just got stuffed against Bournemouth, regardless of the four games before that when they were unbeaten and they had a chance to obviously win 3 games on the bounce. It didn't happen. They go to West Ham United on Monday night. Will there be a change before that? It remains to be seen. But something has to change. It has to change quickly, because that product that we saw tonight is not just being in a relegation battle. That product is down before 7 or 8 games before the end of the season, because, like you say, absolutely zero fight. And unfortunately, and we've said this all the time that they didn't have tonight, zero quality.
Absolutely. 2 games running now, Mateus Cunha's not been in the game. Guedes quiet. Larson missed a couple of chances, didn't do a lot. Players that came on, Hwang didn't do a lot. Rodrigo Gomez comes on at right back. Bless him, runs himself into the ground, but what can he do at that point? 82nd minute, whatever it was, he came on. There is quality in this team. We've not seen it in those last 2 games. We've seen a disjointed side, and I keep coming back to it, for the first time in my opinion tonight, a side that did not scrap for fans who have travelled and spent all that money to come here and watch some turgid stuff. Fans have got every right to be absolutely disgusted with some of the performances we've seen there. Gary Neville will be as well.
Oh, he'll be furious.
Players have let him down tonight, but he's also not helped himself with, again, the Lemina decision, and not being able to get the basics into these players. Now, it's not that he's not telling them. Of course he is. We know that Bournemouth are going to play that long ball from Senesi through to Evan Nielsen. We know that Everton are going to batty from set pieces. We spoke about it before both games. Yeah. Gary Neville spoke about it in the press conferences. The players have been told it, and they're not doing it. Now, the reason they're not doing it is that's the big question. It's such a bad look. I can't get that image out of my head of those players with their heads down. It's such a bad look for a club of this size, this stature, and to be honest, players of that quality. And I've battered a couple of individuals there, but I could go through the whole squad. There were some big individuals there, big players, talented players, big personalities who are shrinking violets right now. We've got to see a lot more from them. And whether Gary Neville abandons his desire to be entertaining and attacking and just make the Wolves hard to beat and scrap a couple 1-0s, if that's what needs must, that might be the way to go. But something's got to give. There has to be a change.
It's obviously a developing situation. Things can change very, very quickly, and we'll give you the latest on expressthestar.com.